What happens when a painter doesn't just witness a revolution, but helps design the way it looks, even turning one of the revolution's most ruthless agitators, stabbed in his bathtub, into a carefully crafted political icon? That's Jacques-Louis David, and in 1793, he painted a martyr the revolution wanted, not necessarily the one the people deserved. Welcome, my friend. You've wandered into the art bog again. Jacques-Louis David was born in Paris in 1748, and by the time the French Revolution erupted, he was already France's leading neoclassical painter. And in 1793, he created one of the revolution's most famous images, the Death of Marat, a painting forever tied to the era's violence and propaganda. Earlier works like Oath of the Horati, 1784, had established him as a master of classical themes and dramatic moral storytelling. But once the revolution hit in 1789, David moved with its momentum. By 1792, he had joined the Jacobin Club, the most radical faction, aligning himself closely with Maximilien Robespierre. In 1793, he was elected to the National Convention, the governing body steering France through its most volatile phase, the same assembly that voted to execute Louis XVI. Soon after, he joined the Committee of General Security, the revolution's internal security force, responsible for arrests and investigations into suspected enemies of the state. The painter of Roman heroes was now helping run a nation in upheaval. David's influence reached far beyond the canvas. He designed festivals, funerals, and ceremonies celebrating revolutionary martyrs and French Republican virtue. To him, art was political, something that could shape public character and strengthen the Republic. And nowhere is that clearer than in the Death of Marat. This wasn't a commission, it was a personal tribute to a political ally, a man David saw as a martyr, even if Marat's legacy is far, far darker. Jean-Paul Marat was born in 1743 in Boudry, Switzerland. He trained as a physician, wrote obsessively, and became one of the revolution's loudest and most incendiary voices. His newspaper, ironically named L'Ami du Peuple, or the Friend of the People, went after royalists, moderates, and anyone he believed stood in the revolution's way. To supporters, he was a defender of the people, whose rhetoric stoked violence. Marat also suffered from a chronic skin condition, possibly dermatitis herpetiformis, that kept him in a medicinal bath for hours each day. It was in that bath on July 13th, 1793, that Charlotte Corday killed him. She came from Normandy, aligned with the moderate Girondins, and claimed the assassination was her attempt to stop the bloodshed. Marat's death stunned Paris. To Jacobins like David, he instantly became a martyr. David was granted access to Marat's body the very next day so he could sketch. Those sketches became the foundation for the Death of Marat, completed and displayed within months, a blend of grief, politics, and artistic purpose. David finished The Death of Marat in late 1793. It's an oil painting, 165 by 128 centimeters, now housed in the Royal Museums of Fine Arts of Belgium in Brussels. The composition is stripped down and direct. Marat slumps in the bathtub, a quill in his right hand, and a blood-stained letter in the left. A rough wooden crate serves as his writing desk, labeled simply A Marat David, or to Marat from David. There's almost no gore. His calm expression sits sharply against the violence of the moment. David's lighting casts soft highlights across Marat's pale skin, using chiaroscuro, that deep contrast of light and shadow borrowed from Caravaggio, to heighten the drama without slipping into sentimentality. Marat's pose echoes Christian martyr imagery, especially the limp arm reminiscent of Michelangelo's Entombment of Christ. With that visual language, David transforms a polarizing figure into a sanctified emblem of sacrifice. The surroundings are bare. Rough wood, blank walls, a torn letter. Everything says a man of the people. That letter, written by Corday, reads, "Given that I am miserable, I have a right to your help." She used that plea to gain entry. In the painting, it becomes a quiet symbol of generosity met with betrayal. Once finished, the Death of Marat was displayed at the National Convention. David organized Marat's public funeral and placed the painting right in the Hall of Deliberation, turning it into a political shrine. Prints circulated, copies moved through the streets. It became a rallying image for the Jacobin cause. This wasn't just art, it was a tool of propaganda. Marat was framed as a hero struck down by enemies of the revolution. David's painting helped cement that narrative. But after Robespierre fell in July 1794, everything shifted. Marat's image vanished from public spaces. David was imprisoned and narrowly escaped execution. Still, the painting endured. Its meaning evolved from propaganda to memorial, from political fuel to historical masterpiece. After Robespierre's fall, David's political career collapsed. He continued to paint under Napoleon, producing massive works like The Coronation of Napoleon from 1807, but never again tackled a subject as intimately tied to political martyrdom. In 1816, when the Bourbons returned to power, David was exiled to Brussels. He lived there until his death in 1825, turning down offers to return to France even after being pardoned. Still, the Death of Marat survived every regime change. Delacroix admired it, Picasso reinterpreted it, political movements borrowed it, but beneath every reinterpretation, David's intention holds steady. He wanted to elevate a fallen comrade into a symbol of civic virtue. Today, the painting stands as one of the most influential political artworks ever made. Not because it glorifies Marat, but because it shows how powerfully art can shape public memory. And if you ever want to see it yourself, the Death of Marat now lives in Brussels at the Royal Museums of Fine Arts of Belgium. If you enjoyed the story, consider subscribing to the Art Bog for more art that actually has something to say. I've been your host, Bogdan Migulski. Thanks for wandering through the Art Bog with me.